Tripping. Tripping with Theo Bowl.
Come on, Dre.
Yo, what's going on, guys? And welcome to another episode of Tripping with Theo Bold. I'm your host, Andre Theo Bold. Welcome to the show. Glad you guys could tune in. AT is where it's at on most forms of social media, so make sure you follow me. Bam. Let me make sure my audio is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Let me make sure my audio is booming, as the young folks say. Make sure I'm A-OK with the audio. Mm, mm. All right, we good. Hey, so you know what I'm tripping on today, man? I said, do you know what I'm tripping on today? What exactly am I tripping on today? Today, I am tripping on the fact that I learned 90% of what engineering actually is in the workforce in my last class, right? Senior design was the class where engineering finally tells the truth. All right. So uh boom. So let me get my notes together, man. Try something a little different. All right. So what is senior design? Okay, so what exactly is senior design? What is engineering senior design? Let me make sure I state that the right way, right? So engineering senior design basically is a rites of passage, right? It's the capstone. They call it the capstone course, or it's your it's your crowning achievement, you know? Um so basically what it is it's a class that lasts 2 semesters, right? It lasts in your final year of engineering, it lasts um it lasts your fall semester of your senior year, and it goes all the way through uh your spring semester of your last year, right? And basically what happens in that class is you have to in your fall semester you have to define what it is you're going to do, right? You basically promise the sun, the stars, and the moon to everybody. You draw your pretty pictures and you have all these diagrams. You have a report that you have to do, you know, to solidify what it is you're going to do. Then you have to give a presentation at the end of your fall semester. Then in your spring semester, you have to execute, right? So it's broken up into two phases, right? Your fall semester is promises, and then second semester or your spring semester is execution. That's where you actually, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's when you execute to your schedule, and you know, you actually do what you said you were going to do, right? That's basically what senior design is. And at the very end, you have to then give a presentation, and then you present on why your design worked or it didn't work, you know, and then you get grilled by all the professors in the university. Like, this is they shot to get their last lick in, you know. Um, but even though I said all that, right? Even with all that, um, you have to qualify for senior design. You just can't run up and go sign up for it. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do that. You have to meet certain gateway keeping classes, right? So in my school, the gateway keeping class for like in my class, right? The gateway keeping class was right. The gatekeeping classes to even get into senior design was or were you had what was it? You had stochastic processes and you had signals and systems, right? Signals and systems. So I was an electrical engineer. I was an electrical engineering major. So my one class I had to take, or one, the two classes were signals and systems and stochastic processes, right? So signals and system is basically studying waveforms. That's where you get into your Fourier analysis. Where you take your time bound signal and transform it into the or you then take it from the temporal domain to the frequency domain, or the time bound domain to the frequency domain. You do your filtering and I'm not here to teach the class. I'm just telling you what it is. All right. And then stochastic processes is when you basically do like random probability and statistics with those waveforms or whatever. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm not here to teach or lecture on that, but that's in a nutshell. Like those are the two classes that they said that you had to have in order to qualify for senior design, right? And those classes were junior level classes, right? You took those in your junior year and you had to get a C or better to even qualify for senior design, right? And then to even get out of the engineering program, right? You could have done all that, but then if you want to get out of the engineering program, right? Like the senior what is it? The senior gatekeeping class was analog and digital communication theory taught by Dr. Salaji. So if if you did all that work and if you couldn't get past analog and digital communication theory, you weren't going to graduate. And to make matters worse, if you repeated the course, if you repeated analog and digital communication theory, you were not getting out. You were not graduating ever. Like there were people in my class that literally like were on their fifth time taking analog and digital communication theory. You know, um, maybe I might do a lecture on not a lecture. Maybe I might do a live stream on that particular gateway keeping class. I don't know, but just for the sake of this conversation, it's not needed. But I'm just telling you all of the personal roadblocks or gateway keeping classes that they put up for us to get through the engineering program. So, um, here's my situation, right? Or this was my situation, right? So when I was, um, so in my senior design, so in my process, uh, my school pulled a fast one on this, man. Like they really pulled like see if I can cuss yet. I want to make sure I'm talking free. You know, I can talk free. Yeah, my school really fucked us. All right, I'll just put it to you like that, right? Um, Matter of fact, we had a few students that were thinking about um class action lawsuits because of how they were doing the shit, right? But basically, as I told you, remember I told you about one of the gateway keeping classes that I took or that we had to take? It was good old signals and systems, right? So my school, they basically hired new faculty, or we had new professors teaching gateway keeping classes, which is bullshit, you know, because you got it, because now it's like a random experiment, like you don't know what type of teacher you're going to get in this whole process, right? So, man, I remember I'm not going to say no names. I'm not here to shame anybody, but we had one, like the teacher they got to teach signals and systems came from another unit. I think he came from UPenn. Oops, I don't want to even say the school. Um, but real nice guy, older guy, But man, I could smell the bullshit before I even got into class, man. I could smell the bullshit before I got into the class, man. So um, let's just call him Doctor. I don't like. Let's call him. Let's just call him Doctor Sleepy, right? Code name. Dr. Sleepy, right? Um, he was real nice, but he had no syllabus to start the course off, right? So that's flag number one, man. That's rule number one, yo. If you go into a class and the teacher ain't got no syllabus, yo, yeah, it's probably gonna be some bullshit. So, anyways, Dr. Sleepy, you know, real nice, but for the whole class, he was deriving Fourier coefficients, right? And basically, Fourier analysis is where you take um, is where you take a signal from the time bound domain or the temporal domain, and then you transform it into the frequency domain to look at frequency characteristics, right? So you don't in engineering, you don't like we're not mathematicians, right? Like we're not here, like you're not in an engineering class to learn how to derive a formula. I mean, it may be nice, it may be good practice, but you're not there to do that. You're there to use the shit, right? Like, what do you do with it, right? So, Dr. Sleepy would come in every day and just copy his notes from the board on how to like for the whole course. He was just deriving, Fourier coefficients, right? That's all he did, right? And then he would give us quizzes every step of the way. So every time I would come in, I would do the quiz, get my A, get my little perfect 10 out of 10 or whatever it was, and I was good, right? But I didn't know how to use the shit, you know what I'm saying? But then come the third, fourth week, there's still no syllabus. So I go to our chair and I'm like, hey, or I go to the chair of the engineering department. I'm like, hey, um, this class don't smell right. Like we up here, like no syllabus for the class. We're just still on the same thing. He's deriving the same thing from week one, and our chair was like, hey, that's okay. Don't worry about it, yada, 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 you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Can I take this class like somewhere else? No, no, no. This is a gateway keeping class, and you have to do it here at the university. Right. That's what he told me. Right. I was like, okay, okay. So, man, weeks go by, right? And I'm getting at this point, I done did about like 9 quizzes. I'm getting 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5s on all my quizzes. And then the correction, we get to the midterm, right? So at this point at the midterm, I did about 6 quizzes, right? And I'm getting like 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10s. And, you know, do the midterm. And then I'm like asking them, I'm like, yo, when are you gonna get a syllabus? Like what's going on? Like, like where do I stand in your class? Because this is a very important class. I need this class in order for me to qualify for senior design. Right. So he's like, oh Andre, you're fine. You're one of my best students. You have all of your quizzes are all out of 10, 5 out of 5. Everything is looking good. Graded the first half of your midterm. So far, you have an A. I'm like, okay, got an A, but I don't know, like, I don't even know what I'm even like. I don't even know how to use what I'm learning in this class. If it's so important, I said, okay, cool. It's gonna be one of them classes where I get an A, and then I'll figure this shit out later, right? That's how I thought this shit was gonna go. Um, man, we get to like he doesn't even have our midterm graded by the time we start our final. I'm still getting 5 out of 5s and 10 out of 10s on my quizzes. And then we finally get to uh we finally get to the final exam. Right before I take the final exam, Dr. Sleepy comes up to me and is like, Andre, hey man, Andre, I graded your exam. I finished grading your midterm exam and no good, no good. Second half exam is no good. Yeah, you got a D minus. I think I got a D minus on the midterm or some shit. So I'm learning this shit like right before I go into my final. And I'm like, okay, well, and then I'm like, what about, all these quizzes and stuff, right? And then he was like, oh yes, yes, yes. Yeah, here's the syllabus. And yeah, the quizzes are only worth 5% of your grade. I'm like, 5% of my grade? I'm like, yo, I mean, I've been wasting time with this bullshit, you know, getting A's on all these little quizzes and only worth 5%. That's why I tell you guys, make sure you always get the syllabus to your course if you're getting a grade, man, because you need to know what to spend your effort in, right? Here it is, do the final. I think I get a C or like a C plus on the final, but it's not enough to help bring up my overall average of the class, right? So I end up getting like a D or a D plus for a gateway keeping class. And then I basically at that point I had to stay over summer. I had to take it over the summer, you know? So to add insult to injury, right? I was in Nesby, right? If you don't know what Nesby is National Society of Black Engineers. You know what I mean? So that's where, you go with your resume. I should probably do a live stream on National Society of Black Engineers, man, because I have mixed reviews on Nesby. Like I said, on this channel, we honest because you know this is called tripping with the bold. I'm not hiding nothing. I'm not holding nothing back. All right. But anyways, we had Nesby conference coming up, and that's like a big deal, right? Like Nesby conference is when you go out there, you put on a cheap suit, and you put on your little cheap suit, man, and your little baggy choppers. That's when you put on your little baggy chopper suit, man. And you try to look for a job with these corporations, man, these little companies and shit. That's what that's what Nesby is, man. And then yeah, you got parties like every night. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I gotta do a live stream on Nesby, man, because I got some crazy stories. Me had motherfuckers trying to put their resume together on the plane. Like they more worried about which parties they gonna go to and what they're gonna wear during the daytime than trying to find it. Let me stop, man. Let me stop, man. Anyways, I was going to Nesby because I was trying to prepare myself for like the work world, right? So I was going there trying to like, I was going there to see if I could get an internship. I was willing to work for free. Like, man, I was trying to like I was on it. I did the mock interviews on campus. I was doing everything, right? But the week that we were going to Nesby's, that's when our school decided that they were gonna pick teams for senior design, which fucked up, right? Because here it is, I'm trying to find a job, but now this is when you're gonna. So I got three things against me, right? One, going to Nesby while they're about to pick senior design teams, right? And then on top of that, I gotta take signals and systems over the summertime so I can qualify for my last year for fall semester of senior design, right? So I got a lot working against me. So, um, man, I don't know where to even go from here. So basically, everybody picks their team. I get back from Nesby's, and I ain't got no team. So everyone is kind of getting excited about what they're gonna do, and oh, I'm gonna build a rover that can go to the moon and collect moon rocks and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? And um, uh, the advisors also had like projects that you could pick from. So my advisor, his idea was at the time 'cause I had like three or four advisors that they kept dropping in and out. But my advisor um was he basically had this idea for home automation, right? So you gotta think this is before the iPhone. His idea was for home automation. So he wanted to set up a proof of concept of being able to turn off a light on and on um via the internet and then via like a personal um like a PDA or like a personal handheld device, right? So think like Palm Pilot, because we weren't there was no iPhone, no touchscreen, no nothing. This was all you had the stylus joint, what I'm saying? But he wanted to use a Palm Pilot to connect to the internet, turn on and off a light, right? That was what you know, his idea was. Um, so I said, man, let me go ahead and mess with that. And you know what's funny is I use that to this day, right? So the thing that I worked on ages ago, I use it like religiously. I have like, I got my smart lights, got my got my smart locks, you know, I got my cameras. So I use all so it's interesting that I worked on what I use a lot of to this day. But anyways, I'm not gonna bore y'all with that. So um yeah, so I had all those things working against me. So I picked the project and I was the only one. I was a one-man team, right? I was a one-man team. So I was like, my mindset was, yo, I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. I'm getting out. Like I was not fooling around, yo, because I could not afford to take out another loan, finish my education, right? Because yeah, I think, right? I came in my freshman year, I was undecided, right? And then my freshman year, I was undecided, but I did a 4-year program. I did a 5-year program in 4 years, right? So I went back and looked at the syllabus for what they have now. And man, the exact same courses that I did or that I took, they spread it out over 5 years. Like they made that program a 5-year program. So I did a 5-year program in 4 years, yo. So I was kind of like, I guess, like the guinea pig for all that or whatever. So, anyways, um, I got this, I got this project. It was called Wireless at House. So over the summer, like I said, man, I was hustling. I was trying to get the fuck out, you know. So so I had to retake signals and systems. So it was taught to me properly or the way it should have been taught. And then I took um I took data structures. Um yeah, I took data structures. What else did I take? So that's a programming course or whatever. Um I took so they had this that's one thing I didn't really agree with, man. They had us take like I wish our programming classes were in C++. I wish we took C++ as opposed to Java. Java was very I don't know, it just wasn't it, I'm not here to talk about that. But anyways, I took these courses over the summer, and then while I'm taking those courses over the summer, I was driving the shuttle, right? Because I needed to make money to have some like food to eat, or so I could like get around if I needed to like go home and stuff to go travel, right? So I drove the shuttle bus, pick up students or whatever, dropping them off, you know, around campus. Um, and then while I'm in the shuttle, I would go to like the library and I would go print out, you know, I was planning my escape, man. I was like uh I was like old boy from Shawshank Redemption. I was trying to get out, man. I was trying to get out, yo. So like, man, I remember, man, I would go in the library, um, to like print out because you gotta think we don't have smartphones, right? So I just can't pull this up on my phone. So I'm literally in my shuttle van, going to the library, printing out documents. And then when I'm in the van, I'm reading over like different technology, getting different ideas, you know. And then I'm uh planning out the design, like what I'm gonna do for fall semester, what am I gonna do for the spring semester, and just I'm mapping everything out. Like I'm mapping everything out by days and how many like I'm working backwards. I'm like, okay, if I have to have a report and a presentation for what we're gonna do fall semester, I got to start with the date and I got to work backwards, right? Then I implement all this. I have to make sure that give enough time, we have enough time to implement all this, right? So, long story short, I get an A in signals and systems over the summer. Um, and I and then I start my fall semester and I basically have like a schedule pretty much all laid out. I have like a lot of the preliminary work done, and all the kids and all the students that made all them promises about what they were going to do and getting excited about building a rover that can go to the moon and get moon rocks, right? Like they were like promising the sun, the moon, and the stars. They ain't did shit all summer. So they're coming in starting off like from scratch. So week one was was very interesting, man. Like that first week, like all the professors and they like the professors and the what you call it, the advisors or whatever, they would like meet with the teams, and then they would tell you where you were at and what, and just kind of like, hey, you got to pick up the pace. So there was one group, there was three guys on one team. Uh, it was this Russian dude, Moses, and Matt, right? So this Russian dude was the one that was supposed to be the leader of his group, but he ain't do shit all summer, right? So when the advisor saw where he was and they saw where I was, they were like, nah, 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 man, nah, yeah, y'all not doing that. Y'all need to get with him, right? So that was unofficially a merger, right? Or it was a takeover, right? It was an acquisition. I inadvertently acquired another team, right? Which I wasn't trying to do, but it happened. So needless to say, there was bad blood between me and the Russian dude, right? But Matt and Moses, these dudes were just like, yo, we trying to get out, man. So they saw what I had, and then the advisor saw where I was at. They were like, yeah, no, no, y'all joining his group. So the whole time I'm working on this project, I mean, the whole time, like, we're working or whatever, um, this dude, like this Russian dude had a problem with me, Like he had an attitude, man. Like this dude was like you could tell he was pissed. Um, so anyways, what so anytime like we were trying to solve something or we were trying to figure out something as a group, he would always say, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It won't work. It just won't work. No, 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 no. It won't work. No, 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 no. It won't work. It won't work. It won't work. Yeah." Right? That's who he was on the team, right? So finally, man, I got tired of hearing that bullshit. So one time he came in and we're working or whatever on our scheduled time, and he was on some, yeah, it won't work. Yeah. It won't work. Yeah. I'm like, why won't it work? And then he would give you all the reasons for why it wouldn't work. But I was like, yo, okay, do you have a solution for how we can get around this? He'd be like, no. I'd be like, all right, then shut the fuck up. Right. So I was that dude, right? Because I'm basically the leader of the team, right? I got the schedule. I'm making sure that we march to a cadence. I'm making sure that we meet our milestones. I got the schedule all laid out. And man, yeah, there was so many conversations where he would just every idea we had, like we're trying to just get the fuck out, right? I told my team, I said, look, man, got all these dudes out here trying to promise the sun, the moon, and the rain, and they trying to turn water into wine. I said, we doing this project and we getting the fuck out. I said, I'm done. I'm getting out of here. You know what I mean? And they were like, yeah, bet. This dude is just every step of the way was trying to hold us back, man. So, anyways, fall semester came around. So we're in fall semester. Here it is. We done allocated resources. You know, we done allocated money for what we're going to spend on different parts of our project or whatever. Because here's what we did, right? We basically built. So we had different phases, right? Phase one is we built a doll. We built a model home, right? I don't like using the word dollhouse, but that's what all my teachers and all the advisors, like all the professors, were giving me shit, and they would call my shit a dollhouse, and that used to get me upset. They'd be like, "Oh yes, Andre, he's doing the thing with the dollhouse." I'm like, "No, it's not a dollhouse. It's a model home. It's a model house." So we went to a wood shop. Like phase one was we built a model house. Then Uh, next phase of our project was we installed a light bulb in the house, right? Then we made sure that, um, we could turn it on and off, you know. Um, we had to figure out how to power it and all that stuff. So we did that, right? The next phase was then to get our light to talk to a computer. So this is like, without the internet first, right? So then we made sure that our computer could talk to the light to cut the light on and off. Then it was okay, let's get to the internet from a computer or desktop and see if we can do the same thing, which meant that we had to build a GUI or some sort of graphical user interface to interface with the computer, to interface with the light, to cut it off and on. And then last phase was to um, get a Palm Pilot of some sort, connect that to the internet, and then use that, create a graphical user interface on the personal device, and then uh, cut the light on and off through the internet with that. Right? Those were the phases of our project. You know, but we had resources allocated, money allocated. We had our schedule built out, everything. Certain people had different parts. Right? So um, fall semester was it went according to plan. Matter of fact, fall semester we were ahead of schedule, and things were looking good. But then spring semester, the Russian dude just disappeared. Like we don't know what happened to this dude. He just disappeared, and not only did he disappear, like he had equipment that we had allocated and that we had funding for that he just had that we didn't account for. Right? We lost that, so we had to basically like take on his load, and then we had to go out and scrap up money to get what he had, and then to basically spread out the work or to load balance the work across the remaining three team members. Right. So um, that was that. Right. Um, so all spring semester, man, we're marching to this cadence. Right. We got the house built, got the light in there. We can cut it on and off through the computer. Right. Now this is where the politics kind of come into play, right? So we man, we so there were like network issues, right? Like you gotta think this is before iPhone. Like people weren't using their phone to connect to Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So things were like a lot more stringent, you know. So man, I remember I had to find the network administrator for the university. Even finding him was the hard part, man. Like this was like some shit out of a movie. Like I had to ask a guy to ask a guy to ask a guy that only came around campus a certain time, and he had a code name, and you had to get all these different names, and then you had to know. And basically, he would refer me to somebody else, and then I went. Then you had to go to the building, right? So the building was on campus, but the network shit was like hidden, right? Like it wasn't just some floor you could access, right? Like you take this out. So it was in one of the bigger buildings or one of the taller buildings. And man, you take the elevator up and then you had to take stairs. Like there was no direct elevator to get to this shit. You didn't even know this shit even existed, right? So I found a guy, told him what I'm doing for my project and how I wanted it to work. And he was like, "Hey man, what you're doing is dope. I wanna really help you out, but I can't like change certain like what so us using like the internet and our handheld device or whatever, it relied on certain network privileges that he just was like, nah, I can't take these down or I can't take this down because then it's gonna compromise our whole network, So so really the second part of the spring semester was me trying to find out or us trying to find a workaround to do what we said we were gonna do. Right. Cause have my end goal for that project was to have one of the professors that was talking shit, come up and actually turn the light off and on, like, through the internet, through a Palm Pilot or whatever. So they can't say, hey, we're doing some like funny business. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times when you lead the horse to the well and let the horse drink, or you let the camel do what I don't like using animal name references, but a lot of times when you let someone that's been that's kind of like your oppressor, I don't like using that word, but someone that is not in favor of you, and you use them to demonstrate what it is you want to do, that's power, because they can't argue. They can't be like, oh well, he didn't do what he said he was going to do, you know. So anyways, second half of the semester is like we're just working around trying to find, like, we're trying to find a workaround solution to meet the objective of the project, right? So and my pay, I still got my I still have my senior design report, man. It's like it's thick, man. It was a lot of pages, man. So we had to have this like massive report that had the budget and the schedule and just everything. Just it was a lot of stuff we had to do for this like final report. And then we had to give a presentation. So even with us doing all the work that we did and marching to a cadence and meeting all of our milestones for what we said we were gonna do, minus like what we couldn't accomplish, right? Even with us doing that and working every day, it still came down to the wire, man. Cause up, we were in the library at like 2 a.m., right? Moses had his PowerPoint slides, Matt had his PowerPoint slides, I had my PowerPoint slides, but they were all different font, different backgrounds. So we were like, look, let's meet today. Let's homogenize all this, right? Fancy word for bring together, right? So we homogenized all of our PowerPoints into one PowerPoint, make sure the font matched, make sure all the backgrounds matched, and make sure all the slides were in order for what we needed. We had our backup slides in case the bullshit came. You know what I mean? So we had all that packaged up. It was it was 2:30, or it was like quarter to 3 in the morning. And I forgot if it was Mark, I forgot if it was um Matt or Moses. They were like, "Hey, it would be dope if we got this picture that captured this of our model home, or like our model house." I was like, "Cool, bet." So uh I ran across to the campus, or like I ran across to the engineering building at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I go in there. All the lights are on in the building. I ain't never seen all the lights on in the building like that before, man. But when you walk through the building, man, all the lights were on. So I go to the lab where our model house is at to get some pictures, and I see two cats. Like they're at a computer. Their eyes are bloodshot red, man, and they're you know, got the coffee, they got the no dos on the desk. And you can tell they were fucking around all year with senior design, because they were trying to get they were just attempting to try to get their shit to work, you know? And they were in there, and when I go into the lab, they when they see me, like they think that, oh, I'm their savior. Like they think I know, they think I can fix their shit, you know? So I go in there, they're like, dude, Dre, hey man, yo, I don't get any of this programming in C stuff. Can you program in C? And like, yeah, not tonight. Like, look, I wasn't trying to be an asshole, man, but yo, I'm like, it's all right, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're slated to present the next day, like at a certain time. And I'm like, we've been working on this shit all year. I'm like, bro, can't do it. Sorry. Nah, not tonight. You know? Um, I took the photos that I needed of my shit and I left, you know. Um, and then I feel like I'm saying, right? I felt bad, but it's like, if you going, like, here it is, right? These dudes saw me in class every day. They see me on campus every day, right? So the moment you see me the night before your shit is due, that's when you ask for help. Like they could have asked for help all year long, and I would have been more than willing to help out, man. But or to see what I could do. But they came to me when I'm trying to get my shit done. I'm like, nah, bro, not tonight. No, sir. So, anyways, man, we go. So we have our presentations all spread out over like the week, right? And it's a big deal. Like they advertise who's presenting what at what time and what group, and they have the got the banners outside the hallway, and then they got the schedules and open to the public, so anyone can come in to watch this, to watch your to watch you defend your senior design, and it's a big deal, you know. So um the day before, so the day before I went, or the day before our group went, I went in to go watch one of the senior designs or whatever to see like what types of questions they were going to ask, just to get a feel for, you know, the temperature of the gravity of the situation, you know? Like I wanted to get a feel for how like what this was going to look like. Nigga, there was one group that got up there, right? There were a few guys on the team, like they were bullshit, like they were bullshitters, you know? Like I'm not trying to be mean, but they were bullshitters, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I knew this from like coursework and just being in class with them. Man, they got up there and they were presenting, man, all they slides looked different. All they fonts were different. And they had that look like they had that look where they were trying not to get caught. It, wa- it's like you could tell their lips were moving, right? Their lips were moving. Their brain was like looking out. Yeah, I hope they don't catch us. Man, when they got to their data and what they did for their present, when they got to their results section and their data, no, matter of fact, no, they pulled the results up first. So this was like in the first like 20 minutes of their presentation, or the first like 15 minutes. When they pulled up like their when they pulled up their results, it was like on a graph or some sort of like it was a graph they had up or something. Um one professor just said he just stopped them. He said stop talking. You're pissing me off. Like this is in front of like 60 people in a room, in a packed room. He was like, stop talking. You guys are pissing me off. He said, okay. He said you guys did what now? That you guys did this to get that, and you did that to get this. Huh. He said, you know, I find that very funny. Because those are my results, and I know what I did because I can tell you why those are my results, right? So they basically took this professor's research and just cut and paste his shit out and put it in their report like they figured it out. And they couldn't even explain it. Man. And then rather than them just keeping quiet and being like just not saying nothing, they still try to defend it, you know? And then he just said, look, he said, man, you guys are done. Now stop. He's like, next. Like they were just like, nah, like you guys are done. Bring on the next peak because he was getting pissed. He was looking at his own results from shit that they did not generate. Man. So I was like, oh, this senior design shit, final, this final presentation is like the gauntlet, man. They're here to bust balls, you know? So um that's what made me on that day say, now we got to get together, have a last minute meeting, and we got to make sure that we homogenize all of our PowerPoint slides and make sure that, you know, we even came up with questions that they could ask us. He had backup slides. So we were like, yo, we're not playing that. So um so when it was our turn to present, man, that room was hot, man. It was probably about 45, 50 people. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't. I mean, I'm just trying to recall what it was a packed classroom. It was a classroom, but they had the chairs all around, like there were no desks. It was just all these chairs. They were all like jammed in tight. Like imagine it was like a press conference. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine like favorite, like imagine a new or like a star player being signed to your favorite team, and then you have all these people, all these reporters up, all these cameras and light bulbs. It was bright, man. Like I literally felt like goddamn rotisserie chicken KFC in that bitch, man, because lights were just on us, man. And it was like it wasn't like the ultraviolet LED shit. It was the tungsten tube. I don't know the bulb type, but it was like just the halogen, the yellow halogen like light shine on us, man. And that shit was hot. And I had on my little cheap suit. I had on one of my little cheap suits. My mom used to take me to Men's Warehouse to get these cheap suits. And I think my shit was double breasted. I think I had on a double breasted suit, man. And man, that motherfucker was hot. You know, that motherfucker hot, boy. That shit had my little double breasted suit on. And I'm at the podium. I'm leading the whole presentation. And I would introduce I would bring in all the other guys as needed. Um, or not as needed, but it was one of those things where we had our presentation all worked out. And, you know, I did the intro, and then I brought in Matt or Moses, and then I brought in Matt. Then after that, I spoke for a little bit. Then I brought in Moses. I'm getting names mixed up. I basically brought people up on my team, and then I had the big section in the end. Like we all did equal work, right? But I think I did most of the talking because we were up there for about 2 hours. I think we were up there. We were up there for 2 hours, and we got questioned, and we got so that's 2 hours with being grilled, right? So I would say I did probably like 65% of the talking, and then Moses and Matt like did the rest of it. So, anyways, man, I remember we had these two advisors on our, or we had these two grad assistants, because my school had, they had their golden boys, the people that they got behind. Um, it was Rob Esposito and this guy named Carl. Like Carl, I think was like a little older. Carl had like long hair. He kind of reminded me of like Qui-Gon Jinn from Star Wars. He had the long hair or whatever, you know. And he was like a little older, I think, than Rob Esposito. And I think he was like the Jedi Master, right? And then Rob Esposito was like his apprentice, you know. So throughout the years, man, they were always nice to me because I wanted to like learn the shit. Like I wasn't there just to get a grade. I was there like trying to do for myself, and they respected that, you know. But man, when I tell you during like question answer session of our presentation, Rob Esposito, man, he turned into my fucking enemy, man, temporarily. Like he was busting our balls and then busting our balls some more. Like, man, he was just, yeah, well, did you try this? How about this? And did you do that? I'm like, yeah, I said, yeah, go to our backup slides, right? I'm like, yeah, per the backup slide, we did this and we did that and we did this and we still didn't get the same result. And boom. No, no, no. But why didn't you just do this and do that and do this and do that? I'm like, well, because if you look at our presentation and you look at our funding, like I was just like, I was like, you were not going to catch me like you weren't going to hem me up. Like I knew why our shit didn't work, you know, and it was up to me to bring it home, So I had all the that's part of what senior design is, right? So I'm gonna get to that point in a second. But basically, he was grilling the shit out of me, man, and I'm like, yo, I felt like he was trying to get me to break, you know. Um, but I didn't break. I just kept going. And finally, when he had no more questions, that was it. We got out. We got our A. That was it, man. And then, man, that was a very stressful um time, right? So now let me bring this home, right? So why do I say senior design to be a freshman class, right? So and with everything I just told you with my story about or my everything I just told you with my experience with senior design, right? That's how all my jobs are, yo. Every job I worked in industry is just like that. That's what engineering is, right? Get excited about something that you're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have your concept of operations, you make your figures, you do your right, you do your cost analysis, and then you basically have to sell this idea to like your team, or you have to sell this to get a bid or to get funding, right? So you do all this, then you got to execute it. And when you go to execute it, right? And if you don't execute it, every time you come back, you have to show that you turned over every fucking stone, right? You have to show that you turned over every stone, you know, as to why you didn't get something done if you weren't able to, right? Like if you if you say like if you do what you said you were gonna do, story's over, right? Everything's done. But if you don't do what you say you're gonna do, you have to turn over every stone and make sure that you document that you turned over every stone. Because the moment you don't turn over a stone and someone just randomly asks you, hey, well, how come you didn't do this? Right? Or your customer's like, yo, how come you didn't try this? Loss of business, you failed, right? So that's what senior design taught me, man. That whole class taught me how to sell an idea. It taught me how to plan because I was planning really like for a whole damn year, because I started my shit in summer, like the summer before my senior design, right? It taught like I learned how to like manage my team, you know. We had like politics on our team. We had an issue, like I said earlier, there was a like I basically acquired another team. I wasn't trying to acquire another group on purpose, but when you acquire another team or another company, there's a lot of time there's bad blood, right? Because when you acquire another team, you know, people that were on a trajectory to get certain promotions, or they were trying to, they were basically making power moves. Now that shit got disrupted, right? Now they got to start from scratch. So people are going to be mad. So a lot of times people just leave the company, or they leave after the acquisition has acquired, or company might, or the company that acquired you might have some bullshit benefits. That 401k might not be okay, So now you gotta so I know so these are things that I've gone through in industry, and this is what like my senior design taught me. And then if you fail, right? What I learned too is like, a lot of times in engineering, like you're not gonna meet what you set out to do on time and on schedule, but you have all that shit documented and everything and all the things that you tried to do. They have no choice but to keep working with you because you're an expert on what's going on. Now they might have you. Now they might bring in some other people to try to, or you have to identify where your issues are for them to bring in other people, so you can manage them to get the product over the finish line. But you got to do all that, you know. So this to me, like, look, I'm not saying that this is how it should have been, but when I was in undergrad, I didn't use any of my coursework, any of them class. I didn't use any of my classes for senior design. I didn't need any of them. I took a boatload of classes, man. All this like theory, man. I took, man, calc 1, calc 2, differential equations, physics 1, physics 2. Um I took discrete mathematics, um, took all this stuff, man. I took all these different classes, man, and didn't use one of them classes for my senior design project. Now, maybe things have changed and they said, look, after every class or every year, you have to do a project to where now you have to include that project in your senior design. But I don't know if they do that or not. But in my case, the only class I said that I used in senior design was like programming in Java, right? Because um in order for in order for my advisor to actually give me or to allow me to work on his project, he wanted me to prove that I could program Java, right? So he would give me little scripts to go program, but and I did them. I didn't use those in the end because he wasn't even my advisor in the end. I told you before, my advisor, I had like four, like our team, we just kept having new advisors. I don't know what that was about, but like my one advisor, the main one said, "Yeah, I can't do it. I got to move on to something else." Then we had like it's like every semester we had a new advisor. So it got to the point to where our advisors was just kind of sitting along watching, and I'd fill them in, but they weren't really giving me any like they weren't really telling us like what to do, or if we had any questions. I really couldn't go to them for that because I was the one working on it the whole time, you know? So that's what senior design taught me, man. And to me, they should have put that class up front, man, because they have certain weed out classes, but this to me is like the weed out class of this is the weed out classes of classes, you know? Because if you don't want to do any of this shit, don't waste your time on engineering, man. Because this is what engineering work life is like, man. This is what the field is, right? Everything I outlined for you is that's what goes on across industry or at a high level. I mean, that's everything that I told you I've experienced in pretty much the same order for every company I work for. I work for like 3 companies, you know? So that's what senior design taught me, you know? I remember we had a weed out class freshman year because you gotta think, freshman year, we had like 100 students in our engineering program. People come to you talking about their dreams. "Oh, man, I wanna invent this. You know what, man? I'm a be Tony Stark, man, and I'm gonna invent this. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, man, I wanna do something like this, and I wanna invent this." Right? Everyone got their dreams, right? And I think it was engineering science too. And people are all like, I mean, I remember the class, man, it was so packed, man. It's like we had to basically almost like we were damn near sharing a desk, man, like doing like we were like working on our exams like this, you know? And I remember there was one student, I forgot his name, but I remember like he like they like we were in the front of the class. I don't know what I think we just came in at a time and people already like crowded the back. So the only seats that were left were in the front. We're doing this exam, you know, and I could feel this motherfucker's eyes on my paper, you know. I was panicking. I'm like, yo, I'm like, I don't wanna I don't wanna out this dude and then, you know, get him in trouble, kill his dream about what he wants to do for engineering or whatever. But at the same time, I had a teacher right in front of me. And I could feel the teacher's eyes on me. I could feel this guy's eyes on my paper. You know? I'm just like, man, I had like I don't know. So I had this thing called urinal neck. Like if you're a fella, you go to the bathroom, go like use a urinal. They don't got no dividers, nigga. Your neck is stick. Your neck is stiff. Like you just trying to keep your head forward because like you don't want like if your eyes wander, you don't want to see nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing my exam with urinal neck, just not even looking. I'm just like my neck got a cramp. I'm just looking at my paper like this. But I could feel his eye, I could feel the other students' eyes on me, and I could feel the teacher watching me. I was like, yo, I hope this teacher don't think that I'm trying to help this nigga cheat because I'm not trying to get kicked out of this program. And lo and behold, man, soon as soon as we got done with the exam freshman year, this dude like he got expelled from the program because he got caught, you know. So that's how they basically would like they would catch you for every little thing, right? If you got caught cheating, you got expelled from the program. Um, like every little thing, you know, if you got a certain grade, they would just throw you out, right? So my engineering program, like we started with like 100 people, and about 10 of us graduated, right? And then half of those 10 were transfers from another university um in their junior year, which I thought was bullshit, but whatever. Maybe that's another topic, right? Maybe that's another topic, man. You know, uh, right? Maybe that's another topic because that shit, man. I took all of the I took all of the gauntlet classes, man. I took all the hard like you had people you had people that were trying to game the system in our program. Or you had people that were trying to take, you know, instead of taking like engineering calculus, right? Which was like the advanced calculus, people were trying to take the business joint where, you know, I'm not trying to like throw any shade on business, but it wasn't the same rigor, right? I took all the hard shit I was supposed to take. Some people were doing the engineer. I mean, people were taking the business calculus, but it also hurt them in the end because you're you're in your third year of engineering and don't know how an integral works or don't know how to do basic integration, yeah, you gonna be fucked. But anyways, um, what else, man? So that was the weed out process, right? Um, so anyways, those are all the things that I learned like from engineering senior design. They would have had that freshman year. I think they could have weeded out a whole lot of people faster because a lot of people don't want to even deal with that type of shit. Like if you don't have the desire to get out or to do whatever you got to do to meet the objective, then and if you're not goal oriented, then yeah, engineering is going not really for you. Um, but yeah, our first class they had us do like this basic stamps thing where it was like in our freshman year they told us what engineering wasn't. Which to me is funny, you know, like they had us it was fun, but it was like playing with Legos. You know what I'm saying it was like they had us take servo. It was this box. It had like two servo motors on it, and the wheels basically like the servos controlled like the wheels or whatever, right? So basically, um, had this box with wheels on it, and then like week one, you learn how to power it on. You know, you learn how to power this thing up, right? And you have to use like there's like a little breadboard at the top of the box, and then you have to like jump cables to connect it to power or whatever. So, so the first week you're just cutting it on and you're having it crash into the wall or whatever, and then after that you then add some resistors and then say, oh, okay, well, I can play around with the speed or oh, I can do this, right? And then you start adding different components to the top of this box on a breadboard. And then you download some code and you modify the code and you say, oh, wow, okay, this thing can now turn right, it can now turn left. Okay, cool, neat. Then after you do that, you then start modifying the code where have you had a there's like a photoresistor. There's like a photoresistor element that you plugged in. Photoresistor basically it basically measures light, and then based off that light measurement, you can have this device do certain actions, right? So essentially, what you could do is you could basically say, okay, when you come across something dark or black, make a right or make a left, right? So long story short is, um, freshman year we did all this, and then there's a the instructor built this like ramp or this ramp out of wood. It's big, massive. Just think whack-a-mole, right? Like we go to Chuck E. Cheese, you had the whack-a-moles you had to hit. Then think of that, but think of it like a lot bigger. They had holes in this big ass like piece of wood. It's like a wooden ramp with all these holes in it. And he had tape around the ramp and sorry, he had tape around some of the holes. And then the ramp was kind of slanted. It had all these different like funky contours and contortions or whatever. And when you got done playing with your robot or whatever it was, for the final exam, you had to cut it on wherever your shit got. That's the grade you got, right? So if you couldn't even power your shit on, you got an F, right? If you could power it on and have it go straight, but if it fell into a hole, then you got a D, you know, because you had to put it in a certain like path or whatever, and it had to like get when it got to a hole, if it couldn't detect that it was coming up towards a hole, fell in, you got a D. You know, it had to be able to go up, sense it, and then come around, right? And then based off of the incline of the curve or how the ramp was set up, because it was like on a slant, you know, your shit was like struggling and it started coming down sideways, but it didn't know but your code wasn't able to adjust the left wheel to spin faster to make it go straight, right? Then you got to see, right? Like my shit made it to the top. I gotta aim my shit. And not aim his thing, right? It wasn't like hard. You just had to put the time in, the effort in, you know. So a lot of people got A's, you know. Some people just didn't care, right? But reason I'm bringing this up is because um that's not engineering, right? That's an element of engineering, right? Like that's probably like the fun side if you get to work on the fun stuff, you know. That's like the R&D portion, I guess, if you want to play if you want to call it that, or that's like your integration, right? But that's not engineering. Senior design is what engineering is in the workflow. In That's what it is in the workforce, right? Um, so yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like I was just like thinking about this, and I was like, yo, why didn't we learn? Like, why didn't we get to that earlier? You know, and really, I'm not upset. I'm just like baffled by how they taught it in that order, right? Like here it is, we're doing all this for the first 4 years or first 3 years. We're doing all this heavy theory, and we don't know how to apply it. We just have to like learn it. You know, like it's not even like memorization, right? It's not memorization. It's like you're solving math problems, but you don't know what you're solving the math problems for, right? That's basically what years 1 through 3 are, right? There's no context. There's no how can you use this, right? It was very like very theory heavy, and um, there wasn't like a whole lot of like teamwork pressure. I mean, there was some things we had to do as a team, like when we worked on when I was in my random processes class or stochastic processes class, we had to like work as a group, code something up, you know. But everything we did was kind of like in our own little silo, right? There wasn't like a whole lot of teamwork effort. But senior design for a whole year, we had to cover ourselves accordingly. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it would have been better to have done senior design up front because, you know, get to see what engineering really is even about, right? And then based off of that, the professors and stuff can kind of look and say, yeah, nah, if you're struggling this, then or if you're frustrated to the point to where you want to quit, then yeah, you don't need to be doing engineering, right? But I think I would have made it through freshman year doing that. Then what would have been dope is going back and then looking at the theory and applying the theory to what we were trying to do, right? A lot of times it's better to learn and get your hands on something so, you know, you can reference something later on when they start talking abstract terms. You know, like every class I wish that man we could have oh, okay. Um like we learned about um this theory or Thevenin or whatever it is, right? You learn about all these different things and then you can go back and say, "Oh yeah, how can that would have been the real shit, right?" Like for the first year, show us that you want to be an engineer without us telling you what engineering is, right? That would have been dope. And then for each of the classes, you would then have to go back and theory that you learned, it would be dope to be like, hey, let's go back and show us from your senior design where this can be applied at, right? Because now it's like, okay, now I'm learning this. Oh, I've seen it already, but I didn't know what it was, right? So that to me is what should have been done. But hindsight is 2020, right? Um, but yeah, like I said earlier, this should be a freshman class because if it filters people out early, you know, all them dreams that people got in their head, you know, when the rubber meets the road, people gonna find out what it is that they want to do and not do. Um, and then um, yeah, it gives context to everything else. And it, like I said before, it shows you what engineering or what the engineering workforce really about, right? Like why spend 5 years learning something just so when you go in there you don't want to do it? Like luckily, I'm in a good place, right? Like I don't mind doing it. You know what I'm saying? I know what it takes, you know. Anytime I join a project, join a new company, I know what to look for, you know. I know like I know a lot of what I know a lot of what I know through hands-on experience through my senior design project. Wasn't even technical. A lot of this shit is political. It's about understanding schedule, how to appeal to people within your group and people that are not in your group. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Should they put senior design um as a freshman class? Now, obviously, they wouldn't call it senior design as a freshman, right? But do you think that they should theoretically take um senior design, move it as your freshman year course to help people understand what it is that they're even getting themselves into? You know, what are your thoughts? Put it in the comment section. Let me know. M- I'm curious. I want to know if people think the same way. Like I said, this show is called Tripping with Theo Bowl because I be tripping in thought. That's what I do, right? Like put in the comment section. Am I tripping? Let me know. Like I said, I'm just using my experience to say, hey, why not? Y'all get the point. AT is where it's at. On most forms of social media. So make sure you follow me. And without further ado, I'm out of here, folks. Peace. Yep. Tripping with Theo Bowl.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Tripping. Yep. Tripping. Tripping. Tripping with Theo Bowl.
Tripping with Theo Bowl.